I'm Lana, and I'll be turning 20 soon. I'm studying finance at college, and right now I'm in the thick of finals week. Though I've always had a talent for numbers, this is a challenging major. My thoughts turn to my impending birthday as I sit here in my dorm room surrounded by textbooks and empty coffee cups. My family and I have plans to celebrate when I pass our examinations. There's always a sour aftertaste to family gatherings. I was always the black sheep when I was a child. Now 25, Olivia is my elder sister. She has always been my parents' favorite child, the one they spoiled. I was an afterthought, simply there. This was once when I was 8 years old. My parents gave Olivia a huge party to celebrate her 13th birthday. A magician, a cake larger than I was, and a bouncy castle were all present. I was ecstatic, believing my birthday would be as spectacular. A few months later, I received nothing for my birthday except a pair of socks and a tiny cake from the grocery store. I tried not to cry, but it was impossible. "Don't be dramatic, Lana," my mother murmured, giving me a quick slap on the head. "It is only a birthday." That was the first time I recognized I was different, perhaps less significant. The more I aged, the stronger the emotion became. Every year, Olivia received the newest phone, and I inherited her previous ones. I received hand-me-downs. She got luxury clothing. Upon her high school graduation, my parents gifted her a vehicle. They handed me a gift card to the neighborhood bookshop after I graduated. But my grandmother is not like the others. She has consistently given me particular treatment. She was overjoyed to hear that I want to study finance. "You've got a good head on your shoulders, Lana," she added. "You'll go far." She's now insisted on planning my birthday party. To make it happen, she even offered my parents several $1,000s. When I learned about it, I was astounded. My birthday is generally ignored by my parents, but this time they didn't dispute with Nana Grace. They simply collected the money and instructed me to concentrate on my tests. I heard Olivia get all worked up over it. She complained, "Why does she get a big party? I could use that money for a trip I've been wanting to take." Nana Grace quickly silenced her. "Now, Olivia, shut up. You are already spoiled by everyone. Aren't you still living at home after I gave you 10 grand for rent?" After that, Olivia became silent. I couldn't resist becoming a bit arrogant. "I'm now studying for my final exam. Tomorrow is my free day. I can celebrate my birthday and feel special for once." I left my last exam the next day with the impression that something heavy had been removed from my shoulders. While my classmates were excitedly discussing their summer plans, my mind was focused only on my impending birthday celebration. There were texts buzzing on my phone as I walked back to my dorm. Knowing I would be returning home soon, my college buddies were sending me an early happy birthday. Even if it was only by folks I'd known for a few years, it was nice to be recognized. As soon as I walked inside our shared area, my roommate, Hara, said, "Happy almost birthday. You ready for the big family shindig?" I nodded, trying to become excited again. "Yeah, should be interesting." Tara's eyebrow went up. "You don't seem very enthusiastic. Everything all right?" With a groan, I collapsed into my bed. "Just my family is involved. You know, especially when it comes to me, they're not exactly the cuddle bug. But this whole affair was planned by your grandmother, right? That has to be significant," Tara remarked. "Yes," I said. "Nana Grace has never been the same. She appears to like me, actually." I was packing my backpack for my journey home when I started to feel uneasy in the pit of my stomach. I was half excited that my birthday would finally be memorable and half afraid that anything might go wrong. The bus trip home seemed to take forever. My thoughts kept going to what was waiting for me. Would there be any decorations in the house? Would cake be served? Would it really appear like a joyous reunion with my parents? I inhaled deeply as I made my way up the driveway. There were no streamers or balloons to suggest that a party was about to take place, and the house appeared typical. Perhaps, though, they were attempting to seem upbeat and were holding everything within. I called out, "Mom, Dad, I'm home," as I opened the front door. The home was quiet, too quiet for somewhere that should have been getting ready for a party. I scowled as I headed to the living room, leaving my backpack by the entrance. There they were, seated on the couch and seemed very uneasy. No signs of preparations for the celebration. I said, hi, as my voice became more confused. Where's all the, birthday stuff? My heart sank when I saw my parents look at each other. That's about it, Lana, my father said in a very distant tone. We decided not to organize your birthday party. Thinking I had misheard, I blinked. What? However, Nana Grace paid you for it. We gave the money to Olivia for her trip, she said, interrupting my mother. She and her boyfriend flew to Hawaii a couple of days ago. The words felt like a kick to the stomach. Tears were beginning to hurt my eyes. You what? It was for my birthday, though. You received that from Nana Grace on my birthday. With a shrug, my dad avoided looking at me. Olivia required a getaway. You do realize this, don't you? I was hearing things that I couldn't believe. Comprehend. No, I'm not getting it. My birthday was scheduled to be celebrated there. I extended an invitation. What am I meant to explain to them? That's already taken care of, my mother responded in a condescending manner. We called everyone and told them you were having problems with college and that the party was cancelled. I just stood there, my disbelief becoming to rage. You told them lies about me. How are you able to do this? My father became sterner. That's sufficient, Lana. You must quit being so self-centered and learn to obey us. Selfish. I nearly let out the word. How do I exhibit selfishness? It was my celebration, my birthday. The front door opened just then. I turned, feeling bad, and hoped it was Olivia returning early. Rather, I witnessed my Nana Grace enter the room and her eyes narrow as she took in the surroundings. With a harsh tone, she questioned, "What's going on here? Where's the party?" I turned to face my parents, ready for them to come up with an excuse. They paused, searching for the right words. Something broke inside of me at that very instant. With trembling in my voice, I answered, "Nana Grace, there's no party." They gave the money to Olivia for a trip to Hawaii instead. I had never seen my grandmother's expression before. It was a mixture of disappointment and rage, all aimed at my parents. She insisted, "Is this true?" My parents were unable to meet her eyes. Their quiet gave her all the assurance she required. Nana Grace's look softened as she turned to face me. "Lana, please pack your belongings. I'll be bringing you along." I didn't require 2 reminders. My grandmother's voice, low and furious, was talking to my parents while I hurried to stuff some clothing into my backpack. The tone was obvious, even if I couldn't make out the words. Nana Grace was waiting by the door when I returned downstairs. We walked out of the house and into her car without saying anything to my parents. I started crying finally as we drove away. It was the outpouring of 20 years of feeling unloved and unwanted. Nana Grace touched my hand as she reached over. Her voice was forceful yet compassionate as she continued, "Don't you worry, dear. We'll resolve this. It's past time someone told you that you deserve more than this." We were taken by Nana Grace to her lovely 2-story house on the outskirts of town. She turned to face me, a determined expression in her eyes as we drew into the driveway. "This might not be the party you were expecting, Nana, but we're going to celebrate your birthday properly." Nana Grace opened her door and went straight to her phone. I was astounded to see her order what seemed like enough food to feed an army, and then have it delivered quickly. She winked and added, "I hope you're hungry," before hanging up. "We've got quite a feast coming our way." Nana Grace busied herself in the kitchen, getting out her finest china and cutlery while we waited for the meal to come. I tried to assist her, but she pushed me off. "My love, it's your birthday. You simply unwind." I therefore saw her work while seated at the kitchen table. A few minutes of stillness later, I was at my breaking point. "Nana Grace," I said in a low voice. Why don't they love me?" She stopped what she was doing and turned to face me, her eyes mournful. She appeared to be battling something inside for a brief while. She groaned then and took a seat across from me. "Oh, Lana," she murmured, extending her hand to grasp mine. "I suppose it's time you knew the truth." My heart began to race. "The truth about what?" Nana Grace inhaled deeply. "Your parents, they didn't want you to be born." The words struck me like a punch to the body. It felt like a blow to my lungs when the air left them. "What?" Granny said. "They thought Olivia was enough, in a kind but strong way. However, I persuaded them to have you. Your mother had a challenging pregnancy and a challenging delivery. She came close to passing away." Tears were forming in my eyes once more. So it's my fault." "No," gruffly answered Nana Grace. "No, Lana, it's not at all your fault. Your mother attempted to avoid you after that, but these things do happen occasionally. Olivia and your father took their cue from her." I sat there in disbelief. I had sensed for years that something was wrong, but I had never anticipated this. It was the doorbell ringing. Our meal was on its way. I sat there trying to take in what I had just learned as Nana Grace went to fetch it. The hours that followed seemed to fly by. I ate my way through an absurd quantity of food with my grandmother. Even though my heart was heavy, she made me laugh by telling me stories about her early years. For the first time in a long time, I started to unwind and genuinely enjoy my birthday as the evening went on. Nana Grace's phone rang while we were eating the last of the cake. She gave it a quick glance, then turned back to face me, a playful twinkle in her eye. She said, "It's your sister. Shall we see what she has to say?" I gave a nod, my curiosity taking over. Mama switched the phone on speaker. Olivia's voice called out, "Hello," with a terrified tone. "Why is my card restricted, Nana Grace? What is happening?" When Nana Grace answered back, her voice sounded cold. "Hi, Olivia. It appears that you have realized that your acts have repercussions." "What? Which acts? What topic are you discussing?" Olivia's tone was getting higher. Nana Grace sternly stated, "Your behavior, along with that of your parents, has been absolutely shameful. Using funds intended for your sister's birthday to further your personal agenda. I'm quite let down by you." A pause occurred. Olivia's voice then returned, this time irate. "Oh, please hurry up. Giving me the money was the correct thing for Mom and Dad to do. Lana doesn't require a large celebration. You're simply an old crazy lady." "That's quite enough," Nana Grace interrupted, her voice as strong as steel. "I've heard all I need to hear." She hung up after saying that. I gazed at her, my eyes wide. "Nana Grace, did you really block her card?" With a content smile, she gave a nod. "Yes, I did, as well as your parents' account. It's time they discovered how to balance on 2 feet. Just like clockwork, the phone rang once again. It was my parents this time. Ignoring it, Nana Grace turned back to face me. She continued, "Now then, as if we hadn't just revealed a shocking detail about my family's financial situation, how about we plan out the rest of your birthday week?" My time with Nana Grace seemed unreal, a far cry from the tragedy that had been my birthday. I felt very liked and appreciated for once. We just spent time together, went shopping, and visited museums. However, everything good has to end. It wasn't long until I had to head back to my dorm and concentrate on my summer coursework. My phone buzzed while I was in my little dorm room unpacking my luggage. When I looked at it, I saw a barrage of notifications, missed calls and texts from Olivia and my parents. I sat on my bed and began scrolling through them, sighing. Mom gave me the first one. "Lana, you should speak with your Nana Grace immediately. This can't happen." Next, my father. "We are your guardians. We deserve your allegiance. Make her remove the account ban." Even worse were Olivia's texts. "You brat, little one. Was this your goal too? To spoil everything for us? You're the reason we're stranded in Hawaii. Now fix this." I read through them all, my hands trembling. It was astounding how daring they were to ask for my assistance after what they had done. I inhaled deeply and tapped out a reply. It's just you and Nana Grace on this one. I will be impartial. Don't get in touch with me about this again, please. After pressing send, I blocked their numbers. But the quiet was short-lived. They began making calls from several numbers and leaving derogatory and demanding voicemails. My mother said something really hurtful to me during a particularly unpleasant call that I answered by mistake. "You little ungrateful trash," she spit out. "I never ought to have given birth to you. Instead, I ought to have had an abortion." The final straw was that I hung up and blocked all the numbers they attempted to use to get in contact with me. My mother's comments echoed in my thoughts as I curled up on my bed, tears streaming down my cheeks. I immersed myself into my studies during the following few weeks, attempting to use textbooks and assignments to block out the anguish. Every now and again I would phone Nana Grace and cry into her confident, soothing voice. "How are you holding up, dear?" Her tone would always be kind and kind as she asked. I would respond, "I'm okay, Nana Grace," attempting to seem more confident than I actually was, just focusing on my classes. She would add, "That's my girl," with pride in her voice. "Keep in mind that you underestimate your strength. Avoid letting them affect you." Her words soothed my hurting spirit. Nana Grace has turned into my rock and safe haven throughout this tempest, but my dad and sister had revealed their true selves. It was a cool fall day, roughly 2 months following the birthday debacle. I was thinking about a finance exam I had coming up and was strolling across campus when I heard my name called. "Lana." I spun around and stopped. There came Jake, my sister Olivia's boyfriend, sprinting toward me with a $1 million smile. That Jake who accompanied her to Hawaii. He looked as good as he always did, and as he drew closer, I couldn't help but notice the looks of curiosity from other girls. He grabbed me into an embrace before I could even blink. He started to draw away, still smiling, and I stood there, rigid and bewildered. "Jake, what are you doing here?" With a sharp awareness of the looks we were getting, I managed to inquire. His voice was soft as silk. "I was hoping to run into you," he murmured. "Is it possible for us to speak? A cafe is located right off campus." My first reaction was to say no, but my curiosity won out. "Okay, but I can't stay long." Jake moved forward and his countenance turned abruptly serious as we found a quiet area of the cafe. "Lana, I need to tell you something important." I prepared myself, anticipating family news. But what he said after that totally threw me off guard. Blurting out, "I want to date you," he reached across the table to grab hold of my hand. "I'm going to leave Olivia for you." I gaped at him as I looked at him. "How come?" "Jake, what topic are you discussing? My sister is with you." His gaze never left mine as he shook his head. "Lana, I've had feelings for you for a very long time. My sole purpose in dating Olivia was to stay near you. It may sound absurd, yet this is the case." My thoughts was racing as he talked. There was no logic to this. Before this, Jake had never expressed any interest in me. Indeed, he consistently appeared to hardly acknowledge my presence while he was with Olivia. There was clearly something suspicious going on here. I chose to follow along to see where it would go. "Wow, Jake, that's really sweet," I murmured, forcing a bashful smile. I was unaware that you felt that way. Clearly encouraged by my reply, his expression brightened. "Really? So what are your thoughts? Can you provide us a chance?" I said, "This is a lot to take in," after pretending to think about it. "Could I take a little time to consider this? Maybe next week we might get together again." "Naturally," Jake said with enthusiasm. "Take as much time as necessary. Lana, I'll be waiting for you." I stayed at the coffee shop after he went, drinking my coffee and thinking about the strange experience. My grandmother's choice to financially distance my family from me seemed to be linked to this unexpected show of affection, and I couldn't get rid of it. But how? What was Jake hoping to get out of this? My brain was still whirling from Jake's odd revelation when my phone rang, and I had barely left the cafe. On the screen, My sister's name flickered. I replied, letting out a long sigh. You backstabbing little trash. Olivia's voice came screeching out of the speaker. How could you do this to me? I winced at her loudness as I withdrew the phone from my ear. Olivia, what the hell are you talking about? Don't try to fool me. You're destroying my house. I lost patience. Shut up right now and explain what's going on, or I'm hanging up. Olivia's voice trembled with anger as she spoke again, after a startled silence. Jake split up with me. He said that he would rather date you. How were you able to? It was as though I had taken a hit to the belly. What? I promise, Olivia, I was unaware. She spit out. Oh, act all innocent. You must be ecstatic about this, don't you? Guess what, though? All he wants from you is Nana Grace's money. My thoughts raced. Nana Grace funds? What topic are you discussing? Olivia chuckled bitterly. Oh, you're unaware. Okay, little sister, allow me to explain. Mom, Dad, and I are being excluded from Nana Grace's will. She is giving you complete control. I felt lightheaded and leaned against a nearby wall. But why would she do that? Because she discovered Mom and Dad's scheme, Olivia said, bitterness seething in her voice. They requested that she be deemed mentally incompetent in order to seize possession of her belongings. However, the elderly bat somehow learned about it. I was feeling ill. They did what? You heard me, snarled Olivia. And now, all of us are disconnected. Well, not you, obviously. The ideal little angel. Everything began to click into place. So that's why Jake suddenly wants to date me, because of Nana Grace's money. Bingo, exclaimed Olivia. Offer the girl a reward. God, that disgusting old lady. I wish she would. With a stern voice, I cut her off. Olivia, don't even try to complete that statement. I'm not sure who's worse in this scenario. Jake for being a gold-digging serpent, or you and our parents for trying to rob Nana Grace. Olivia let out a gasp. How dare you? No, how dare you? I fired back. You guys are all abhorrent. Olivia, I want to stop talking to you. Please don't call me back. With trembling hands, I hung up. Tears pinched at my eyes, attempting to overpower me with a mixture of hurt and rage. How is my family able to achieve this? How could they be so avaricious and cruel? I shook hands and tapped Nana Grace's phone. Her response came back quickly, her tone reassuring and kind. Lana, dear, is everything all right? I inhaled deeply. Nana Grace, I recently learned everything there is to know. Is it true that the inheritance and your parents' attempts to have you declared incompetent? After a little silence, Nana Grace laughed. Oh, sweetheart, when would you hear about all that turmoil? I was thinking. It is true, indeed. She continued the story with a laugh and a hint of disappointment in her voice. You ought to have witnessed their expressions when the commission arrived at my door. I answered all of their inquiries, had tea with them, and even completed a few Sudoku problems to demonstrate my mental sharpness. As I imagined the situation, I couldn't help but smile. So what happened? Well, Nana Grace went on. They went away quite sure I was okay. Naturally, your parents' absurd claim was denied. I was forced to defend you and my possessions from their avarice after that. The home is what I left them, but everything else is going to you, my love. I was overpowered. Nana Grace, I don't know what to say. Lana, you don't need to say anything. Just assure me that you will utilize it prudently. One day, I want you to take over the business and build on what I've started. Grandmother, I swear, I'm not going to fail you. I put myself into my studies with fresh zest after that chat. I lost contact with my family, if I could even call them that anymore. I disregarded their attempts to contact me and blocked their numbers. They had exposed their genuine selves, and I was done dealing with them. Just as promised, Jake reappeared a week after I spoke with him. When he noticed the icy expression in my eyes, his once confident smile broke. Lana, he said, grasping my hand. I withdrew. Save it, Jake, I growled. I am well aware of your little plot. My sister and you are meant to be together. You are a hired gun as well as despicable." His mask came off in an instant, sneering. "You're making a big mistake, Lana. You're a fool to refuse a guy like me." I couldn't contain my laughter. "A man similar to yourself? Do you mean a gold digger who lacks morality? Thank you, but I guess I'll pass." I felt a weight lift off my shoulders as he rushed off. I was no longer subject to deceit, manipulation, or the persistent sense of inadequacy that had dogged me for so long. Nana Grace took me under her wing over the following 6 months and taught me the ins and outs of managing a profitable business. We pored over financial data on weekends, spoke about company plans, and made plans for the future. She used to say, "You have a good head for business, Lana," and would always grin with pride. "You're going to do great things." I felt really loved and cherished for the first time in my life. The happiness I felt at finally finding my place in the world eclipsed the sadness I still felt at losing my parents and sister.
Hey everyone, I'm Megan. Before I dive into my story, please make sure to like and subscribe for more tales. Growing up, I always felt like I was living in the shadow of my sister Lily. No matter how hard I studied, how many trophies I brought home, or how much I accomplished, it was like I was invisible. Lily was the star, the golden child, and our parents never let me forget it. Even in high school, where I was at the top of my class and captain of the track team, you'd think I'd get some recognition, right? Wrong. Every dinner conversation revolved around Lily's latest bakery projects or her weekend plans. If I dared to share something about my day, I'd get a patronizing, "That's nice, Megan," before the conversation would snap right back to Lily. It wasn't just annoying. It hurt deeply. To cope, I threw myself into my studies and focused solely on my own life. When the time came, I landed a full-ride scholarship to college. My best friend's dad, seeing how things were at home, offered to help with any additional expenses. Honestly, he's been more of a father to me than my own ever was. One day, while I was packing for college, my mom came into my room with that look on her face, the one she gets when she wants something. "Megan, we need to talk," she said, sitting down on the edge of my bed. "What is it?" I asked, keeping my eyes on my packing. "It's about Lily," she started. "Her bakery isn't doing well, and we've had to take some financial risks to keep it afloat." I zipped up my suitcase and faced her. "What does that have to do with me?" "We've taken out a third mortgage on the house," she confessed, "and we're struggling to make ends meet. We need you to reconsider your scholarship, maybe stay home and help out with the family business." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All these years, they hadn't invested a dime in my future, but now they expected me to give up my dreams for Lily? "No," I said firmly. "I've worked too hard for this. I'm going to college." The conversation that followed was a blur of shouting and tears. My dad called me selfish, and Lily accused me of trying to ruin her life, but I stood my ground. Moving day finally came, and as I loaded up my car, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I was finally getting out, starting my own life on my terms. As I drove off, I didn't look back. I knew the road ahead would be tough, but for the first time, it was mine to shape. One chilly autumn evening, I was in my dorm room, halfway through a sociology essay when my phone rang. The screen flashed my mom's name, and a knot formed in my stomach. I hadn't spoken to my parents since I left home, and I wasn't eager to start now, but curiosity got the better of me, and I answered. "Hello." "Megan, we need to talk." Mom's voice was strained, heavier than usual. "It's about the family." I paused, taking a deep breath to steady myself. "What's going on?" "It's your sister's business. It's failing, Megan. We've tried everything. It's just not working. We're in trouble." I felt a twinge of sympathy for Lily, but it was quickly overshadowed by apprehension about what they might ask of me. "I'm sorry to hear that, but I don't see how." "We took out a third mortgage to keep the bakery afloat." She cut in, her voice desperate. "We're drowning in debt, and we need your help." The words hit me like a ton of bricks. Not only had they jeopardized their financial stability for Lily, but now they expected me to bail them out. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "We need you to come home," Mom said plainly. "Put off school for a while. Help manage the finances and the bakery. We can't do this without you." The request was ludicrous. They wanted me to give up everything I had worked for, everything I had escaped from, to save them from decisions I had no part in. Anger flared up inside me, but I kept my voice calm. No, Mom, I won't do that. I'm not leaving school. There was a pause on the line, a heavy silence that seemed to stretch on forever. Then my dad's voice came through, harsh and accusatory. You're going to let your family fail after all we've done for you. The irony of his words was almost laughable. All you've done? Seriously? I countered. I'm on a scholarship, Dad, one I earned without any help from you. I've made it clear where I stand. Mom tried again, her voice softer this time. Megan, please think of it as helping your sister. You wouldn't want her to suffer, would you? But I was done being manipulated. Lily needs to sort out her own problems. I have my future to think about. You're being incredibly selfish, Megan, Dad snapped. You're a part of this family whether you like it or not. I am, I replied, but I'm not sacrificing my dreams for Lily's mistakes. I'm sorry you're in this situation, but it's not my responsibility to fix it. The conversation ended shortly after, with Dad muttering something about disappointment before hanging up. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling both liberated and alone. It was the first time I had stood up to them so definitively. It felt right, though it also stung. I turned back to my essay, but my mind was elsewhere. I knew this wouldn't be the end of it. They would come after me, try to guilt me into submission. But I was ready for it. For the first time in my life, I was truly ready to fight for myself. It was just another Tuesday, bustling with the usual campus energy. Students were milling about between classes, and I was at the student center, grabbing a coffee before my next lecture, when I felt a sudden chill. Looking up, my heart sank. Standing across the room were my parents and Lily, their faces grim. I hadn't expected them to come here, to my world. As they approached, I could feel the eyes of everyone around us, curious about the impending drama. Mom was the first to speak, her voice loud enough to draw even more attention. Megan, we need to talk now. Taking a deep breath, I stood my ground. We can talk, but I'm not changing my mind. Dad's face was red with frustration. You're really going to embarrass us like this in front of everyone. It seems you're doing a fine job of that yourselves, I replied, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Lily then stepped in, her tone mocking. Look at Megan, everyone, too good for her own family now that she's a college girl. I clenched my fists, fighting to keep my composure. This isn't about being too good, Lily. This is about me living my life, not cleaning up your messes. The conversation escalated quickly, voices rising. Mom pleaded, tears in her eyes. Megan, please, we're your family. You can't turn your back on us. You turned your back on me a long time ago, I shot back, when you decided that Lily's bakery was worth more than my future. Dad scoffed, shaking his head. You're just jealous. Jealous of Lily's success. Success? I laughed bitterly. Is that what you call bankruptcy and a third mortgage? Patrons of the student center were now openly staring, whispers circulating. The humiliation was palpable. But I couldn't let them win. I am not responsible for Lily's business failures. I am not responsible for your poor financial choices. I am only responsible for myself. Mom's voice cracked as she said, You're being selfish, Megan. When will you see that? No, Mom, I'm being sensible. You may not understand that, but I have to look out for my own future, because it's clear you won't. The argument reached a fever pitch, with Dad calling me a disappointment and Lily accusing me of ruining the family. As they stormed out, Dad threw down a crumpled bill on the table, not nearly enough to cover their order. It was just like them to leave a mess for me to clean up. As they left, the weight of their words hung heavy in the air. I felt the stares, the judgment from those who didn't understand. But among those looks, I saw others, nods of support from peers who respected my courage. I sat back down, my coffee untouched and cold, feeling both defeated and victorious. I knew then that standing up for myself would mean losing them. But perhaps that was the price of finally being free. As the chatter resumed around me, I realized this confrontation was a turning point. There was no going back, only forward. After the confrontation with my family at the student center, I felt emotionally raw and drained. Needing a change of scenery and some comfort, I headed to the one place I always felt welcomed. The little diner just off campus where I was a regular. The bell above the door jingled as I entered, a familiar and comforting sound. The warm, inviting smell of coffee and freshly baked pies enveloped me. This was my refuge, a place where I could just be Megan, not a pawn in my family's drama. As I slid into my usual booth, Jenny, one of the owners, noticed the distress on my face right away. She came over with a concerned look, a pot of coffee in hand. "Hey Megan, rough day?" she asked as she poured me a cup. I nodded, managing a small smile. "You could say that." Jenny sat across from me, her expression sympathetic. "Want to talk about it, or I can just sit here and listen." Taking a deep breath, I prepared to finally share my story with someone who truly cared. I recounted the entire ordeal, the unexpected visit from my parents and Lily, the heated argument, their harsh accusations, and how they left me feeling exposed and humiliated in front of my peers. As I spoke, Jenny's frown deepened, her eyes reflecting a growing indignation on my behalf. "That's just not right, Megan," she said, her voice firm with conviction. "You've always been kind and hardworking. You don't deserve any of this." At that moment, Tom, Jenny's husband and co-owner of the diner, joined us with a plate of my favorite chocolate chip cookies. He'd overheard a bit of our conversation and slid the plate in front of me. "You know, kid," he began, "blood isn't always family. Sometimes family is the people who stand by you when the storm hits." His words, simple yet earnest, struck a deep chord within me. Here were these two wonderful people who knew little about my personal life until now, showing me more parental care and understanding than my own family had in years. Jenny squeezed my hand gently, her warmth and sincerity palpable. "We're here for you, Megan," she reassured me. "Whatever you need, you're part of our diner family and we look out for each other." Tears welled up in my eyes as I felt overwhelmed by their kindness and support. "Thank you, both of you," I managed to say, my voice thick with emotion. "It means more than you know." As we continued talking, the warm environment of the diner, along with the gentle clatter of dishes and the murmur of conversations around us, gradually lifted my spirits. It reminded me that there were people who valued and appreciated me for who I was. My connection with Jenny and Tom underscored a crucial lesson. Family isn't just about blood relations. It's about those who stand by your side, who support and believe in you. Rejuvenated by their encouragement, I left the diner that evening with a renewed sense of purpose and determination. The weight of my family's expectations and criticisms felt lighter, knowing I had people who believed in my choices and my future. This newfound strength bolstered my resolve to forge ahead with my education and life, defining success on my own terms. As I walked back to my dorm under the starry sky, I realized that while the road ahead might be lonely at times, I wasn't truly alone. The support from unexpected quarters like Jenny and Tom had given me a surrogate family, a safe harbor in the storm, and for that, I was profoundly grateful. They had shown me that sometimes you have to choose your family, and that choice can bring a peace and happiness that blood relations may not always provide. Months rolled by, each one bringing me closer to my goals. My grades were excellent, I was involved in key campus activities, and I had started an internship that promised a bright future. As I thrived academically and personally, I felt a sense of pride and accomplishment that was entirely my own creation. This new chapter of my life was marked by independence and genuine support from friends and mentors who believed in my potential. One crisp morning, as I scrolled through the news on my phone before class, a headline caught my eye. It was about Lily's Bakery. Apparently, it had been embroiled in a major health scandal. Reports detailed unsanitary conditions and multiple violations that had gone unchecked. The fallout was catastrophic. The bakery was shut down, and the media storm that followed tarnished the family name irreparably. Sitting in the quiet of the library, a complex mix of emotions washed over me. There was no pleasure in seeing Lily and my parents suffer, yet there was a grim sort of inevitability to it. Their reckless choices, the years of bending rules and expectations to favor Lily, had finally caught up with them. It was a stark reminder of how far removed I was from that world of chaos and neglect. In the following weeks, news of their financial ruin became the talk of the town. My parents had invested everything into the bakery, ignoring all other responsibilities, including their own well-being. With the business gone, they were left with nothing but debts and regrets. A harsh, self-inflicted reality that they had to face alone. Despite the turmoil back home, my life on campus was flourishing. I reflected on the stark contrast between my steady rise and my family's dramatic fall. It wasn't just about financial or social standing. It was about personal integrity and making choices that aligned with my values and ambition. I had chosen a path of hard work and honesty, distancing myself from the toxic dynamics that had dominated my early life. One evening, as I discussed my future plans with my mentor, Professor Hawkins, he remarked on the resilience and determination I had shown. "Megan, it's not just about surviving the storm," he said thoughtfully. "It's about finding a way to dance in the rain." His words resonated deeply with me. Yes, I had endured much, but more importantly, I had grown. I had built a life that was not defined by my family's expectations or failures, but by my own successes and the community I had chosen. As I walked back to my dorm that night, the campus paths illuminated by the soft glow of street lamps, I felt a profound sense of peace. The struggles with my family seemed like a distant storm, one whose echoes no longer reached me. In its place was a quiet confidence in my own abilities and choices. I knew there would be more challenges ahead, but I also knew I had the tools and the support to face them. My family's downfall, while tragic, was a result of their own actions, a fate they had crafted through years of missteps. As for me, I was building something different, something sustainable and true. As I closed the door to my room, a smile touched my lips. It was the smile of someone who had not just survived, but thrived, someone who had taken control of her destiny and was ready to face whatever the future held with open arms and an unbreakable spirit. Hi, I'm Jessica. Before I dive into my story, please take a moment to like and subscribe for more tales just as wild and unbelievable as mine. It all began when my Aunt Carol invited me on what she called a special trip to Las Vegas. I was just 16, buzzing with excitement and completely oblivious to her true intentions. Carol had always been the fun aunt, the one who'd whisk you away on adventures and make every moment feel like a scene out of a movie. Naturally, I jumped at the opportunity. "We're going to have the best time, Jessica," Carol said, her eyes sparkling with what I now realized was not just excitement, but desperation. "Just you and me, a girl's trip to remember." As we packed our bags, my parents seemed uneasy. My mom pulled me aside, her voice tinged with concern. "Are you sure about this, honey? Las Vegas isn't exactly a playground." I brushed off her worries with a laugh. "Mom, it's Carol. We're just going to see some shows, shop a little. What could possibly go wrong?" My dad chimed in, trying to mask his apprehension with a smile. "Just keep your phone on, Jessica, and call us every day, okay?" Nodding, I hugged them, filled with naive anticipation. Carol watched this exchange with a tight smile, her mind clearly miles away from parental warnings. The day we left, Carol was more animated than usual. As we drove to the airport, she kept talking about all the fun we'd have, the places she wanted to show me, and the amazing food we'd eat. I was completely caught up in her enthusiasm, missing the strained undertones in her voice. "First thing we do is hit the Strip. You're going to love it, Jessica. The lights, the people, it's another world." Sitting in the passenger seat, I nodded, my thoughts already wandering to the busy streets of Las Vegas. But beneath all the excitement, I couldn't shake the slight anxiety my parents' words had planted in my heart. Little did I know, their instincts were right to worry. That night at our hotel, I noticed Carol was on the phone a lot, whispering in corners and quickly hanging up whenever I approached. Curiosity finally got the better of me, and I asked her about it during dinner. "Who keeps calling? Aunt Carol?" She waved my question away with a nervous laugh. "Oh, just confirming our plans here, making sure everything is perfect for us." Her evasive answer did little to ease the unsettling feeling growing inside me, but I pushed those doubts aside, telling myself it was just jitters about being in a new city. If only I had listened to that inner voice warning me of the storm that was about to break. Walking through the vibrant buzz of Las Vegas, I was riding a high of lights and sounds, completely oblivious to the schemes unfolding behind Carol's enthusiastic facade. Our hotel was opulent, the kind of place where dreams are made, not shattered. But my dream was about to crack wide open. "Let's check out some venues tomorrow, Jessica. It'll be fun," Carol said, her tone too chirpy, her smile a stretch too wide. Nodding along, I felt unease nudge me again. Something was off. Her excitement seemed forced, like she was playing a part. That night, as Carol slipped out to meet an old friend, curiosity got the better of me. I decided to explore our suite a bit. That's when I found it, an envelope casually tucked away in her suitcase. Inside, my hands trembled as they pulled out a marriage certificate and a fake ID with my face, my name. But the wrong age, 18. I stared in disbelief as the room spun and the pieces clicked together. No, this can't be right, I muttered to myself, heart pounding. Just then, I heard Carol's voice from the balcony, her words slicing through the night air. Yes, everything's set for Friday. You have my word. Once it's done, we're square. Peeking through the curtains, I saw her pacing, phone to ear, while a shadowy figure below nodded from the darkness. But what if she doesn't agree? Carol's voice cracked with desperation. Don't worry about Jessica, she won't even know what hit her until it's too late. My breath caught in my throat. I was the payment for what? Panic clawed at me as the reality of her betrayal sank in. I wanted to scream, to run, but I stood frozen, eavesdropping on my own life being bartered away. You better keep your end of the deal, Carol, the man's voice threatened, or it won't be just her you have to worry about. The threat was palpable. I had to act, I had to escape, slipping away from the balcony. I grabbed my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed my parents. Mom, Dad, you need to listen to me. Please, something's very wrong with this trip, I whispered, every word heavy with fear. As I explained, my mom's voice cut through, sharp and urgent. Hold on, Jessica. We're calling the police. Don't hang up, stay with me. The minutes dragged on like hours as I poured out everything. The fake ID, the marriage plot, the menacing man below. My parents' voices, once soothing lullabies, were now lifelines pulling me back from the brink. We're here with you, Jessica. Help is on the way. Just stay safe until they get there. Nodding to their voices, I realized this wasn't just a betrayal. It was a wake-up call. As I awaited rescue, hidden in the shadows of that lavish room, I understood that the bright lights of Las Vegas could blind you to the darker deals done in its alleys and suites. My trust had been gambled away by the one person I never suspected would fold. Now it was my turn to play a smarter game, to survive. The moment I ended the call with my parents, reality hit hard. I was alone in a city that felt like it chewed up secrets and spat them out as scandals. The walls of our lavish hotel room, once symbols of a dream vacation, now felt like the bars of a gilded cage. My heart raced as I scrambled to find a hiding spot. I rushed into the bathroom, my sanctuary, locking the door with shaky hands. Think, Jessica, think, I murmured, trying to calm my racing thoughts. The sounds of Las Vegas buzzed faintly beyond the walls, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding in my room. Suddenly, a knock jolted me. Jessica, sweetie, open up. Let's talk about this. Carol's voice, usually warm and inviting, now oozed with a chilling sweetness. No way, Carol. I know everything. The police are coming, I shouted, my voice more confident than I felt as it echoed off the bathroom tiles. Jessica, you're misunderstanding things. Let's discuss it like a family, she urged, her voice cracking with fox concern, but the undercurrent of urgency betrayed her true intentions. I clutched my phone like a lifeline, texting my mom to keep her updated. The pounding started, fists against the door, as Carol's pleading turned to angry demands. Open this door, or I'll break it down. Stay away from me, my reply was a scream, every ounce of trust in Carol shattered by her deceit. The minutes stretched into an eternity, each second a tick of tension. Then, the distant sound of sirens gave me a sliver of hope. They grew louder, the wail of justice on its approach. The door shook under an onslaught of force as Carol and her accomplices tried to break through. You're ruining everything, Jessica. Carol's voice was now shrill with panic. Just hold on, sweetheart. The police are almost there. My dad's voice buzzed through the phone, a beacon in the chaos. Suddenly, the world outside the bathroom exploded into noise and activity, shouts, heavy footsteps, and the clear commands of law enforcement cutting through the frenzy. Las Vegas police. Everyone step away from the door. The relief that washed over me was palpable. I barely managed to whisper a thank you, sliding down against the door as the locks clicked open from the outside. The sight of the officers was like the sunrise after the longest, darkest night. We've got you, miss. You're safe now, one of the officers assured me as they handcuffed Carol and her cohorts. Their scheme was foiled, their faces masks of disbelief and defeat. As I stepped out of that bathroom, the hotel suite felt less like a cage and more like a battleground where I claimed victory. But it was a victory that left a bitter taste, the price of trust too high to ever gamble on blindly again. Back home, The familiarity of my room couldn't wash away the shadow that the incident in Las Vegas had cast over my life. My parents and I sat in a living room, a silent understanding passing between us. They were wrapped in their own cloak of guilt, having trusted Carol without question. "You did everything right, Jessica," my mom said, breaking the silence. Her voice trembled, reflecting the mix of relief and remorse that had taken residence in our home. "I know, Mom, but why didn't we see the signs?" My question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of betrayal. "We thought we knew her," my dad added quietly. "We were blinded by family ties. It's on us too, not just you." This admission didn't erase the events, but it started a slow process of healing. Recognizing the need for professional help, I began therapy. Each session delved deeper into the maze of my emotions, untangling the knots of fear and betrayal. In therapy, I learned to voice my feelings, a practice I took beyond the therapist's office. I reached out to local schools, sharing my story to caution others about the dangers lurking behind familiar faces and exciting offers. Remember, trust is something to be earned, not freely given, especially when something feels off. I told a room full of high school students, my voice steady though my hands still betrayed a slight tremor. After one such session, a girl approached me, her eyes holding a familiar confusion and fear. "How did you know something was wrong?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The signs were subtle, but they were there. "You have to listen to your gut feeling," I explained, hoping to empower her with awareness and the courage to question. These talks became my therapy too, transforming my pain into purpose. But it was during a community forum that the real weight of my experience hit home. A local journalist had come to cover the event, and his questions forced me to face the full extent of Carol's deception. "How do you feel about your aunt now?" he asked, his recorder in hand. Anger and sadness warred within me as I answered, betrayed but stronger. "She taught me that not all dangers come from strangers. Sometimes they're closer to home." His article painted a vivid picture of my ordeal, sparking conversations across the community about trust and vigilance. It wasn't just my battle anymore. It was a communal wake-up call. As I continued speaking out, I felt the shards of my shattered trust slowly forming a new resilient armor. No longer a victim, I was becoming an advocate, a voice for those who hadn't yet found theirs. The pain of the past was forging a path to a more vigilant, empowered future, not just for me, but for anyone who heard my story. 2 years have passed since the harrowing events in Las Vegas, but they've not faded into quiet memories. Instead, they fueled a fierce determination within me. Now, as a recognized advocate against human trafficking, I've channeled my trauma into a crusade for change, fighting tirelessly for laws that protect minors from exploitation. Today, under the bright banners proclaiming Voices for Change, I stand at the center of a bustling community event, a tangible manifestation of my efforts and dreams. Around me, faces familiar and new reflect a spectrum of support and solidarity. "I never imagined we'd be here when this all started," my dad remarks, his voice thick with pride as he surveys the crowd. "We're making a difference. That's what matters," I respond, scanning the crowd for the volunteers handing out educational pamphlets and guiding attendees to various workshops. At the heart of the event, a panel discussion is about to begin. I step up to the podium, the hum of conversations fading as all eyes turn to me. "Thank you, everyone, for being here today." I begin, my voice clear and confident. 2 years ago, I was almost forced into a marriage by someone I trusted. That betrayal turned my world upside down, but it also opened my eyes to the silent cries of others trapped in similar, if not worse, situations. A murmur of acknowledgement ripples through the crowd. I continue, "This isn't just my fight, it's our fight. Today, we stand together not just to share stories, but to shape laws to ensure no minor has to face what I did." The audience's response is a blend of applause and cheers, a collective voice of agreement and encouragement. As the event winds down, the setting sun casts a warm glow over us. The laughter and conversations around me, the community united for a cause, reaffirm my path. This journey, worn from the darkest of trials, now shines as a beacon of hope. It's not just my resilience that's been forged, but a collective resolve, proving that even without legal retribution, the power of community support and advocacy is a profound, transformative justice. As our story comes to a close, I have a question for you all. Do you think family should always be trusted, Or is it sometimes necessary to question even those closest to us to protect ourselves? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more discussions like this. Your support helps us bring more stories and conversations to light. Hi, I'm Ethan, a 38-year-old software engineer who usually prefers to stay behind the scenes. But tonight, that changes. Before I dive into the story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales like this one. Now let's get started. Walking into the high school gymnasium, festooned with balloons and banners declaring Class of 03 reunion, felt like stepping onto an alien planet. Vanessa had been buzzing with excitement all week, eagerly sharing stories of her teenage years filled with drama and old flames. Me? I would have been perfectly content at home with a good book and our cat, Whiskers. As we approached the registration desk, Vanessa squeezed my hand, a warning of the bombshell she was about to drop. With a grin that didn't quite reach her eyes, she leaned towards the name tag table and chirped, "This is Ethan, my personal assistant. He's here to help out tonight." The committee member raised an eyebrow but handed me a name tag that read, "Ethan, personal assistant." I pinned it to my chest, a silent protest against the role I was being forced to play. "Why didn't you introduce me as your husband?" I whispered as we moved toward the crowd. "Oh, Ethan, you know how these things go. Just play along. It'll make the night more fun," Vanessa replied, her attention already scanning the room for familiar faces. The evening dragged on with Vanessa flitting from group to group, laughter trailing in her wake. I stationed myself by the punch bowl, fulfilling my assigned duties, fetching drinks and snapping photos when called upon. Each click of the camera felt like a small surrender to the charade. At one point, Vanessa waved me over to a particularly loud cluster of alumni. "Babe, can you get us a couple of drinks? This is Mark, my old friend from the drama club." "Mark, Ethan here makes the best cocktails," she said, her voice tinged with a high, flirty giggle that grated on my nerves. Mark looked me over, his smile polite but puzzled. "Nice to meet you, Ethan. Heard you're the go-to guy tonight, huh?" As I handed them their drinks, Vanessa laughed again. "He's the best assistant I could ask for." Retreating to the sidelines, I pulled out my phone and pretended to check emails, a mask of productivity as my mind raced, not with codes and algorithms, but with the unsettling realization of how little I knew about the woman I had married. "Is this really your life now, Ethan?" A voice interrupted my thoughts. Turning, I found myself face to face with Jessica, another former classmate of Vanessa's, who seemed more interested in a genuine conversation than in reminiscing about high school pranks. "Yeah, tonight it seems so, but normally I'm the CEO of a tech startup. We're actually doing quite well, developing AI-driven solutions for small businesses," I explained, the truth bringing a small sense of comfort. Jessica's eyebrows shot up. "Really? That's impressive. Why on earth would Vanessa introduce you as her assistant?" Shrugging, I sipped my drink, the ice clinking against the glass like a timer counting down the evening. "I guess she thought it would make for an interesting story. Honestly, I'm just trying to make it through the night." Laughter, a perfect backdrop for the shifting dynamics of the evening, filled the air as I navigated through groups of Vanessa's classmates. The topic of my tech ventures followed closely, drawing more interest than high school memories. "Ethan, I heard you're doing some big things in the tech world." "That's really cool," Linda, a former cheerleader, remarked as she joined the circle I was chatting with. "Yeah, it's been a challenging but rewarding journey. We're actually looking to expand our team soon," I shared, enjoying the genuine curiosity from the group. "Expansion, huh? Sounds like you might need some more hands on deck. What sort of roles are you looking to fill?" Derek, another classmate, asked, leaning in with interest. "We're mostly looking for engineers and developers right now, but there's always room for talent in other areas too," I explained, noticing more people eavesdropping on the conversation. As the group digested this information, Mark made his way over, his demeanor a mix of curiosity and slight desperation. "Hey, Ethan, I couldn't help but overhear. I've been doing some acting but I'm also looking to maybe shift careers. Do you think there might be a place for me in your company?" Mark's question hung in the air, drawing a few raised eyebrows from the surrounding crowd. I gave him a friendly nod. "We can always use people with diverse backgrounds. Why don't you send me your resume and we can see if there's a potential fit?" "Really? That would be amazing. Thanks, Mark replied, his tone filled with relief and hope. From the corner of my eye, I noticed Vanessa watching the exchange, her smile faltering as she realized the attention had shifted away from her. The tide had turned, and as Vanessa's attempts to reclaim the spotlight floundered, the reunion transformed. It became less about past glories and more about future possibilities, with me unexpectedly at the center of these new discussions. The reunion's festive noise dwindled in my rearview mirror as I drove home alone. The evening's events were playing in my mind. The quiet of the next few weeks offered a stark contrast, giving me ample time to reflect on where Vanessa and I stood. One evening, as we sat across from each other at our dining room table, Vanessa nervously stirring her tea, I decided it was time to address the elephant in the room. Vanessa, we need to talk about the reunion. I started, my voice calm but firm. She looked up, her eyes meeting mine briefly before darting away. I know, Ethan. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean for things to go like that. It was supposed to be a joke. A joke? I echoed, disbelief evident in my tone. For the entire night, you introduced me as your personal assistant. You made me feel humiliated in front of people I didn't even know. I know what was wrong, Vanessa replied quickly, her voice rising slightly in her urgency to mend things. I just got caught up in the moment. It won't happen again, I promise. Can we just forget it and move on? Forget and move on, I repeated, my patience wearing thin. It's not just about a single night, Vanessa. It's about the lack of respect you showed, for me, for us. She reached across the table, trying to grasp my hand, but I pulled away gently. I really am sorry, Ethan. What can I do to make it up to you? I sighed, looking at her, really looking, and seeing the lack of genuine understanding in her gaze. It's not about doing something to make up for it. It's about the respect we're supposed to have for each other. I felt like I didn't matter to you, like I was just there to boost your image. Vanessa's face fell, and she withdrew her hand, wrapping it around her cup. I didn't realize it was that serious to you. I thought you'd brush it off like you do with most things. That's the problem, Vanessa. I shouldn't have to brush off being disrespected by my own wife. The conversation lingered in the air, heavy and uncomfortable. Vanessa seemed to struggle with what to say next, her earlier facade of easy apologies crumbling under the weight of genuine scrutiny. I don't know what else to say, Ethan. I'm sorry doesn't seem enough, but it's all I have right now. I nodded slowly, the decision solidifying in my heart with her every word. Maybe it's not enough this time, Vanessa. We sat in silence, the distance between us more profound than the length of the table. As the days turned into weeks, it became clear that the reunion was not just a night of pretenses, but a revelation of truths long ignored. Early one morning, as the soft light filtered through the blinds of my office, I signed the last of the divorce papers with a steady hand. The prenuptial agreement, once a mere formality at the start of our marriage, now served as my safeguard, ensuring that my life's work remained untouched. The weight of the decision settled in, not as a burden, but as a release. Later that week, at a small cafe downtown, I found myself across from Vanessa for one of the last times. She looked hopeful, a stark contrast to the finality of the documents in my briefcase. Ethan, isn't there any way we can work this out? Vanessa pleaded, her voice soft, her eyes searching mine for a sign of the old warmth. I stirred my coffee, watching the swirls blend seamlessly, unlike our lives. I think we've gone past the point of fixing things, Vanessa. Some actions can't be undone or brushed away. But I've changed, Ethan. I've realized how wrong I was, she insisted, her hands clasped tightly around her cup. I'm glad to hear you've had some realizations, Vanessa, I replied evenly, but it doesn't change the history or the impact of your actions. I need to move on. Her gaze faltered, and she nodded slowly, resigned. I just thought maybe there was still something worth saving. Sometimes the best thing we can do is let go and allow each other to find happiness elsewhere, I said, feeling the truth of my words more deeply than I expected. The conversation dwindled, and we parted ways, a silent acknowledgement that some endings are just new beginnings in disguise. Over the following months, I immersed myself in new projects and hobbies, rediscovering passions I'd set aside during our tumultuous years together. At a tech conference, as I mingled among peers, the freedom of my new life was palpable. How's it going, Ethan? A colleague asked, clapping me on the shoulder. Better than ever, I responded genuinely, the ease in my smile reflecting the peace I'd found. It's amazing what a fresh start can do for you. Vanessa's attempts to reach out continued sporadically, but each message went unanswered. The decision to move forward alone was not made out of spite, but out of a necessity to respect my own boundaries and worth. As the conference wrapped up, I looked around at the faces of innovation and progress, my heart lighter. Life was full of challenges, but also full of opportunities for rebirth. As I walked out into the crisp evening air, I felt ready to embrace whatever came next, on my own terms. Ethan found freedom and a fresh start by standing up for his self-respect. What would you do in his situation? Would you have given Vanessa another chance or taken the same path as Ethan? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, please like the video and consider subscribing for more content like this. Your support helps us bring more stories to life.